Well, hello everyone and welcome. Good evening and welcome to this live telephone town hall meeting with your Congresswoman Terry Sewell. We can see we already have some folks joining us on the line right now. Thank you so much for being here. We will get started in just a few moments, so hang tight and stay on the line as we continue connecting to more and more of your neighbors in the 7th District of Alabama. Again, hello and welcome to everyone who may be just joining us on the line. We are inviting you to join Congresswoman Terry Sewell for this very special live telephone town hall meeting. This call is regarding disaster assistance available following the January 12th storms. You will hear from Representative Sewell as well as FEMA Federal Coordinating Officer Kevin Wallace, FEMA Disaster Response and Recovery Chief Jason Nelson, and Alabama Emergency Management Agency Director Jeff Smitherman. And now that you know the topic of hand, if you have any questions, please press 0 on the keypad on your phone. Again, pressing 0 to connect with an operator to ask a question. You can submit those right now or at any point throughout our forum tonight, and we will answer those after we hear from our panel of speakers. So for those of you who may be just joining, we want to say hello to you, good evening, and welcome. We are inviting you and your neighbors in Alabama's 7th Congressional District to join Congresswoman Terry Sewell and expert guest speakers in just a moment for this live telephone town hall meeting. While we wait for more to join us, I'll go through this introduction once more. Throughout this call, we hope that you ask questions. Now, to get in line with a question, you can press 0 on your phone keypad. Tonight, Representative Sewell and expert guest speakers will be discussing disaster assistance available to you following the January 12th storms. Now, once you press 0 to get in line with your question, an operator will gather a clear summary of what you would like to ask tonight's panel and submit that for you. Another option for you tonight is to press 7 at any time as well if you would like to provide us with your email address. In doing so, we'll be sure to keep you updated electronically moving forward by linking you to the Reps e-newsletter. So that's 0 to get in line with your question tonight and 7 to register for future email updates. If you need additional assistance, you can reach out to the Congresswoman's office. You can go to sewell.house.gov or you can call the Birmingham office, and that number is 205-254-1960. Again, that Birmingham office phone number is 205-254-1960. Or feel free to visit sewell.house.gov for assistance or for more information. Now that's SEWELL.house.gov. Now, one more reminder before I hand it over to press 0 right now or at any time to get your questions in line. And we will take those a little bit later here in our forum after we hear from our panel. So thanks again, everybody, for participating. And I also want to give you our Selma office as well. That number is 334-877-4414. So just for extra additional help there. So thanks, everyone, again. Without further ado, I'd like to officially get our call started off by turning it over to Mayor James Perkins, Jr. for opening remarks and prayer. Go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Congresswoman Sewell, thank you for facilitating and helping us get the message and the word out. One thing I can reassure us all is that prayer can go where we cannot go, and prayer can do what we cannot do. I still have not found a reason to not pray. And so let's just go ahead and pray. Father, we acknowledge your presence. We acknowledge your power. We acknowledge your grace. We recognize, we see your power. For in a matter of minutes, 30% of the residents in our community were impacted by this storm. And we see your grace. Despite the devastation, no lives were lost. And so we celebrate you. We thank you for sparing our lives. And now we thank for We give thanks for the resources and assistance that are coming into our community from near and far. We lift you up. We magnify you. We praise your holy name. We know that you have the power to answer our petition for assistance. We simply pray that it is in your will. Hear our prayer, O Lord. Incline your ear to us and grant us your peace. This is the prayer that I pray. Amen. I want to just mention just a couple of things, and I did get a data report from FEMA today, and at this point, what we do know is that nearly 3,000 people have registered, and we know that the amount of post-processing eligibility rate, the cumulative amount that has been disbursed right now, has been approved, is about 2,500,000. And we also know that about 2,300 of our residents have registered already. That represents 30% of our houses. And so we got hit pretty hard. But I'm thankful for our federal delegation who's been responsive and responsible. Congresswoman Sewell, you've been on the ground here helping with the heavy lifting. We really appreciate that. Really thank FEMA for the work that you're doing. The people that you have here are both knowledgeable and compassionate. We thank you for that. And I think the challenges that have been identified with the processes that communities have to go through to get resources that we need can be a bit cumbersome, especially in those first few days. But we're navigating that also. And so those are my opening comments, and be available to answer any questions, providing the additional information. Can't say thank you enough. Really appreciate it. And thank you for allowing me to be on the call.
Thank you so much, Mayor Perkins. I just want to say that all our heartfelt thanks to you and your staff and the staff of the county, Judge Nunn and the county staff as well, for the amazing job that you've been doing. I know that you've tirelessly worked on behalf of the citizens of Selma and Dallas County, and we're very appreciative. I'm Congresswoman Sewell, and I just want to thank all of you for joining us tonight for our special disaster assistance edition of our telephone town hall. As we all know, the devastating storms that hit Alabama on January 12th caused significant damage all throughout the state, and in our district, specifically Dallas County, Selma, and throughout the Black Belt. Immediately after hearing the news, I did fly home to Alabama and drove to Selma, spending the entire week boots on the ground to help all those affected, and my office began coordinating a federal response. I want to thank the hardworking staff that I have that represent us each and every day, and thank them for their continued work and efforts. Because of this tenacity and dedication of our federal, state, and local partners, and especially first responders, I want to thank our Dallas County EMA Director and the state EMA as well, and all of the workers and volunteers who have really worked hard and endlessly to try to make sure that we get the assistance that we need to not only have relief, but have recovery and rebuild. So it has been jarring to see the trees uprooted from the ground and people's homes completely torn apart. In these times of turmoil, we see neighbors helping neighbors and everyone lending a hand to take care of the place we call home. Last week, it was great to welcome our federal partners, FEMA Deputy Administrator Eric Hooks, as well as Senator Katie Britt, to Selma. As so many of you know, Selma is also not only a part of the district that I represent, it is my beloved hometown. And to tour the damage across the city and the county and inform our constituents about the disaster relief efforts is something that has been both personal and trying. I do want to thank the governor I want to thank President Biden for their quick response in initiating and approving a major disaster declaration for the state of Alabama. This designation has freed up and provided critical resources to help our communities recover and rebuild. And while this declaration at first only included Dallas County and Autauga County, it has been amended to also include within Alabama's 7th Congressional District, Hale County, and most recently, Greene County and Sumter County. The counties in our district that we just named have been approved for Category A and B coverage, which includes individual assistance as well as public assistance. And while we are immersed and eternally grateful to President Biden for expediting that declaration within days, we know that this assistance may not be enough. After all, many of our municipalities were still reeling and recovering from Hurricane Zeta and Sally and COVID-19 when the storm hit. It is clear that additional federal support is needed for a full recovery. That's why this morning I led my colleagues on the Alabama's congressional delegation in a letter to President Biden requesting that he increase the federal cost share of FEMA's public assistance program for debris removal from 75% to 100%. We need this desperately. I think he understands that, and with the help of our state, we hope to get this additional resource. While the devastation impacting Selma, Dallas County, and the Black Belt is widespread, I know for a fact that the people of Alabama's 7th Congressional District are resilient. I'm confident that with the close coordination of federal, state, and local partners, we will take this opportunity to reimagine the affected areas and build back better, build our community back stronger than before. As your member of Congress, I have made it my mission to ensure that all of the members of our community know about the resources available to them, which is why I am so happy to have this all-star lineup of experts on the call tonight to provide the most up-to-date information on how to access disaster assistance. Joining me tonight is Jason Nelson, who is the Chief Disaster Response and Recovery Branch Officer, Kevin Wallace, the Federal Coordinating Officer for FEMA, and our State Director of EMA, of Emergency Management Agency, and that's Jeff Smitherman. First, I also would like to acknowledge that I am very grateful to FEMA for all of their efforts. And the first up will be Jason Nelson. Jason, thank you so much. You're no stranger to Alabama, having really helped us tremendously in April of 2011 when we had those horrible tornadoes that hit Tuscaloosa, Pratt City, and others. So thank you so much for once again lending your expertise in helping my constituents access the disaster assistance that they need. I'll turn it over to you for opening remarks.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much, Congresswoman Sewell, for your kind words and for your partnership over the years. I also would like to thank Mayor Perkins and Director Smitherman and everyone that has joined this town hall this evening. First, I would like to express that my thoughts and prayers are with those who were impacted by these recent storms and tornadoes. The road to recovery is not easy, but with the support from your neighbors, elected officials like Congresswoman Sewell, community partners, the voluntary and civic organizations, the state, local, and tribal governments, and all of the federal agencies on the ground supporting this recovery, I know that we are all working to ensure that this community will come back even stronger. We at FEMA are committed to helping those impacted from these most recent disasters. Through events like this town hall, we will be providing you with information that will be key in helping to jumpstart your recovery. And with me this evening to provide an update on FEMA disaster assistance and answer questions is our Federal Coordinating Officer, Mr. Kevin Wallace. Mr. Wallace serves as the Federal Coordinating Officer for the Federal Emergency Management Agency based out of Region 4 in Atlanta, Georgia. In this capacity, he serves as the primary on-scene representative of the federal government responsible for coordinating federal resources and activities to support state, local, and tribal jurisdictions once the president declares a major disaster or emergency. Mr. Wallace joined FEMA in 2018 as a member of the Field Leadership Apprenticeship Program and was appointed in Federal Coordinating Officer in 2020. He has served in leadership roles on disaster operations in several states throughout the country. Prior to joining FEMA, Mr. Wallace served his country valiantly for 23 years in the United States Army, leading complex organizations in peacetime and crisis actions in demanding environments. Federal Coordinating Officer Wallace is President Biden's appointee for this disaster that oversees and coordinates all of the federal resources necessary to help your communities recover, both in the short term and in the long term. As the highest-ranking FEMA official on the ground, Federal Coordinating Officer Wallace brings to this conversation a wealth of emergency management experience, and I have already seen him put those skills to work to help the people of Alabama. Federal Coordinating Officer Wallace, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Jason, for that great introduction. And special thanks to Congresswoman Sewell and her team for inviting us to tonight's Teletown Hall. I also want to thank the Alabama Emergency Management Agency for their leadership and partnership following the January 12th tornadoes. There's an old saying, there's no I in team, and our relationship with the state is a great example of that. Working together, we greatly improve our chances of accomplishing our mission and increasing our reach to survivors in disaster-designated counties. While the recovery journey will be a marathon and definitely not a sprint, I'm happy to report tonight that we have made great progress in helping survivors impacted by the storms. As the Congresswoman stated, this afternoon, Green and Sumter counties were both approved for individual assistance and public assistance, categories A and B. My team will be reaching out to local officials in both those counties tomorrow to coordinate registration as well as getting our disaster survivor assistance teams on the ground. As of today, FEMA has approved more than $1.7 million in grants for Dallas and Hale counties. We also have approved more than $1.3 million in housing grants to assist people in rebuilding or repairing their homes and provide means for a safe place to stay. FEMA has also provided $366,000 in rental assistance. We also have approved more than $335,000 in grants for other needs, and those include things like personal property, transportation, medical, dental, and child care assistance. Our disaster survivor assistance teams continue to canvass neighborhoods, continue to register survivors. So if you see them out there, please make sure you stop them and register. If you are not home, they will leave a flyer. So please contact the information on the flyer to register. But it's important that everyone registers for federal assistance. Other personnel are also conducting housing inspections as part of the application process for FEMA assistance. As of today, we have completed 825 home inspections. In addition, we have the Small Business Administration, which is also here supporting disaster recovery operations. And to date, they have approved more than $830,000 in disaster loans to businesses and households. Starting today, we opened a disaster recovery center in Dallas County. It is located at the parking lot of Cross Point Christian Church at 1710 West Dallas Avenue in Selma, Alabama. We are currently looking at another location within the city of Selma to establish a second DRC. Our intent is to have that DRC open by the weekend and no later than Monday. The DRC operations hours are from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. local time, Monday through Sunday. We also want to remind everyone that it's important that you continue to register. Please do not hamper your own disaster recoveries. So you don't have to go and register in person, but you can register by visiting disasterassistance.gov, downloading the FEMA app, or by calling 1-800-621-3362 between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. local time, 7 days a week. I'll say it again, 1-800-621-3362 between the hours of 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. local time, 7 days a week. Also, as a reminder that the deadline to apply for federal assistance is March 16th, 2023. So again, the deadline is March 16th, 2023. In closing, I want you to know that we will continue to work hard on behalf of the great state of Alabama. We have a lot of hard work ahead of us, but we continue to work closely with the Alabama Emergency Management Agency to provide assistance to storm survivors and help communities continue to recover. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And just a reminder, I want to chime in here if I can. If you joined us a little late on the line, we are inviting you and thousands of others in the 7th District of Alabama to join this live telephone town hall meeting where Congresswoman Terry Sewell and panel are here to answer questions you have regarding disaster assistance. Now, if you have a question, just a reminder that you can press 0 to get those in line. You can also press 7 to receive important information moving forward via email. This allows you to join the REP's e-newsletter. So again, that's pressing 0 to submit a question. We're going to go ahead and get to those in a few moments here, and also press 7 for email updates. So back to you, Representative, to introduce our next speaker, please.
Thank you, Taylor. I also want to thank Jason and Kevin. We know that FEMA and the federal assistance available will not make our constituents whole, but we know that these critical resources will make a world of difference for our most vulnerable. And finally, we have as a presenter, Jeff Smitherman, who is the director of the Alabama Emergency Management Agency. Jeff, thank you so much for all of your hard work. I know that you and your team have been on the ground all throughout the state of Alabama, and I'm especially grateful that you are in the Black Belt and in Dallas County, Selma.
Thank you, ma'am. So first, thanks for everybody being on the call tonight, and thank you, Congresswoman Sewell, for hosting and connecting us. You know, the ability to talk directly to many in your jurisdiction is invaluable to us to be able to get that message, the messages across. So I appreciate the opportunity to do that. And something I would ask the group on the phone tonight is please share the information you receive with anyone else that may have been impacted, whether it be family, friends, neighbors who may not have the opportunity to be on the call tonight and receive this information directly. So if you have the opportunity to do that, please do. I know most on the phone tonight are interested in the individual assistance program because that's what's going to apply to most. But before I get into that, let me just touch briefly on the public assistance. We talked about Category A, which is debris, and Category B, which is emergency protective measures. So those are active for the counties designated on the major disaster declaration, but we're working to activate the additional categories of public service work, permanent work for the cities and the jurisdictions, and also those are Category C through G work, and yes, ma'am, Congresswoman Sewell, we'll work to request 100% for the first 60 days. We'll do the homework to generate that request. Now, switching over to the individual assistance, I'd like to point out that the majority of state support during the individual assistance process is done through the state's 211. And so you access that, obviously, by dialing the 211, and they will guide you to the agency or team that can assist you with your particular needs. Some of the types of services based on your needs that they provide could be assistance with food, clothing, utilities, and then maybe if you normally have some type of government assistance program and it's interrupted or disrupted, you can call into that 211 and they can get you connected back into those programs and those processes. So they're a good touch point for all of that. And the 211, while it's open and active right now and available for this incident, it is not something that's just activated for a major disaster declaration. 211 is turned on during most of our major incidents in the state, even if they don't end up rising to the level of major disaster declaration. So I'm speaking now for in the future, if you have a major incident come through and you're impacted by it, please call that 211 and inform them of what your needs. They can, quite often, we have a very active volunteer organizations in the state, and they can get you connected. And I would invite you to take advantage of that because there's a lot of people willing and wanting to help. They just need to know where the needs are. And before I turn it back over to Taylor for questions, I want to point out if you or anyone you know that was impacted by the 12 January storms, please register with FEMA. And that phone, there's 3 options for you to do that. One is by phone at 1-800-621-3362, or you can do it online at disasterassistance.gov. FEMA.gov, and they also have an app you can download and work it through your phone. So, just encourage you to do that. Some of the services that the state may come back and provide after you've worked with FEMA on your application is fed also by you registering that. So we can collect that data and potentially after you've worked with FEMA and you still have gaps or needs, that we can connect with you via do that. So I encourage you to register. It's not just for FEMA. We use that data on the back end to help fill any remaining gaps. So Taylor, at this time, I'll turn it back over to you to start the question and answers session.
Yeah, sounds good. And actually, let me go ahead and welcome back Representative Sewell, and we'll go ahead and get started here.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. And again, thank you, Jason and Kevin and Taylor. Thanks for facilitating this. I'm looking at the questions that are being asked, and I want to sort of summarize a question that has been asked a number of times by various constituents and the calls that we receive, and that's regarding denial letters. Many of the folks have registered for FEMA, and some are getting denial letters. And I guess it's a question either for you, Jason, or for Kevin. What should they do if they receive denial letters? I know that they need to be persistent, and I know that they need to, that's not the final adjudication. So can you just walk my constituents through if they registered for FEMA and received a letter of rejection, what is the next step that they should take?
Yes, ma'am, I'll take that one. This is FCO Wallace. So if anyone receives a denial letter, the first thing to do is completely read the denial letter. For most folks who are denied, it's something as simple as maybe proof of insurance coverage, proof of identity, proof of occupancy, proof of ownership. So it's something maybe documentation-wise that you have not provided. So please call the number on the denial memo, and the applicant service tech on the other end can walk you through exactly what the issue is with your denial and what additional paperwork is needed. As the DRC is open in Dallas County, we opened one at Cross Point today, and again, hopefully we will have the other one open no later than Monday. Please go to the DRC. And at the DRC, we do have service reps there that can sit down with you, pull up your file, and walk you through exactly what's wrong with what's the concerns or what's the issue with your case, and can tell you whether or not you need additional documentation. And then if that's the case, you can provide that additional documentation there, and then we can move your case forward. So again, please don't give up hope. Contact the number that's on the page, and if not, please go to the DRC and ask what is wrong with your letter and ask for assistance. Again, it could be something as simple as proof of identity, proof of ownership that's required in order to move your paperwork forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. And as I understand it, the disaster recovery centers, the DRCs, are being established in Dallas County. I know that you're still scouting for additional spaces for them. Can you tell us where their locations will be at this point? And if not, can you share it with my office, and we'll put it on our website when they're up and operational?
Yes, ma'am. The first one we opened today is located in the parking lot of Cross Point Christian Church at 1710 West Dallas Avenue. However, we'll be opening a second one. Again, we looked at locations today, ma'am, as we discussed earlier. I think we have it narrowed down. We just got to go through the paperwork and the memo of agreement. And once that is done, we can begin build out of that disaster recovery center, and I'll provide that information to your office as well as to the mayor and the county for the DRC locations that we're going to open up in Selma as well. So thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And I also know that you have mobile units. So there are parts of Dallas County that are outside of the city limits and may need assistance as well. Will you have roving mobile units that allow folks to get registered and get the information that they need if they can't get to a disaster recovery center?
So now what we're doing right now is those individuals that were at fixed sites that we had initially, like Ebenezer Baptist Church, Brown Church, and First Baptist and Selma High School. We're pulling those folks out of those locations as the DRCs are opening, and we will be having those folks go door to door to those locations to register individuals. So again, we will have more boots on the ground than before once the DRC opens, and then we'll be able to canvass a larger amount of Selma and the outskirts, to include Orville, to include Safford, and those areas, to reach survivors where they live. So, and that should happen this weekend, ma'am, as we begin the opening of the second DRC.
Well, we thank you, and I hope that my constituents will go to our website, sewell.house.gov. That's sewell.house.gov. Our first rotator will be about disaster assistance, and as soon as we know the address and the hours of the disaster recovery centers in Dallas County, we will post those on that, and I'm sure that the city will do the same as well as the county. Taylor, you want to get the next question?
Yes, absolutely. Looks like our next question is from Mary in Tuscaloosa, who's asking, what are the application processes for FEMA? I help people with disaster relief, and it would be great to have step-by-step instructions on how to help the most people. And again, that's from Mary.
That's a great question, Mary, and I'm sure that Jason or Kevin can answer that. But I also know that there are sheets about they have sort of a process sheet that sort of walks people through the steps. And I don't know, Kevin, you or Jason can tell them where they can find that information.
No, I'll take that question. We have, as you stated, the sequence of delivery for individual assistance that walks you step by step through the process and kind of what to expect and what's next. So we're ensured, and ma'am, I'll get with your office afterwards, and we'll ensure that the individual who had the question has that particular documentation on that flyer to kind of walk them through the process for individual assistance and how to understand the process and the sequence of delivery.
Great. We actually have that sequence of delivery fact sheet on our website currently. That's sewell.house.gov underneath the tab Disaster Assistance. Next question.
All righty. Next question is from Cheryl in Selma, who's asking, do the people with Section 8 vouchers have any options in order to find housing?
Can we get someone to address the housing assistance and rental assistance that are offered as a part of the disaster assistance?
Ma'am, I'll take that one as well. For rental assistance for FEMA. So as you register for individual assistance, it is key that if you are a renter and you do not have a place to stay, please let the applicant service tech know so they can check the block for rental assistance. FEMA will provide rental assistance based upon your need for up to 18 months. So please, it is imperative as you go through registration, you identify yourself as needing rental assistance. Now, for us, the Section 8 housing and HUD and Section 8 housing and vouchers, ma'am, I would have to defer to HUD. I'm not quite sure what HUD's plan is for Section 8 vouchers and those individuals that lived in Section 8 that were impacted by the storm. We will have a HUD person assigned to the JFO, and our intent is to put a HUD representative inside the DRC. So those individuals who do have questions in reference to Section 8 housing or as it pertains to HUD can also go to the DRC and talk to a HUD representative about their case as well.
Hey, Kevin, what does JFO mean?
I'm sorry, man. I apologize for the acronyms. The Joint Field Office, which is my headquarters.
Okay. I know what the DRC, the disaster recovery, but I wanted to make sure that everyone understood where to go. I also know that in terms of Section 8 housing, the Selma Housing Authority, its Director Kennard Randolph, is a good place to start in terms of getting information about what's allowable with respect to Section 8 housing. Next question.
All right, next question is from George in Montgomery, who's asking, I have a small handyman service business. Who can I approach to offer some assistance with people who need help after these tornadoes, and how can I go about partnering with FEMA?
This is a good question. Oftentimes we get calls asking, offering to help, what's the best way to funnel the information regarding private businesses that seek to offer their services? Can you answer that, Kevin?
Ma'am, I'll defer to the state on that one.
This is Jeff. If the individual is referring to providing volunteer services, And I should have mentioned that in my presentation. 211 also works the other side in that they take volunteers and connect them with those who have a need. So if the question is about volunteering to help those in need, he can do that by calling 211, and they will be able to connect him up with those in the greatest need.
If they want to be actually a provider of services, I guess a contractor for FEMA, I'm sure there's a process for that as well, right?
Yes, Congresswoman, this is Jason. I'll take that one. So, yes, FEMA has an industry liaison program, and what I can do after this call is provide that information to your office. It explains how to do business with FEMA for those that have unsolicited proposals, those vendors that have unsolicited proposals.
And Mr. Mayor, is there a person, if you want to volunteer, we get a lot of calls for folks who really want to come down to Selma and help in some way. Is there a person in the city of Selma that they could call that is coordinating that effort? What would your advice be, Mr. Mayor?
There is a volunteer center where people are directed to register to come in and volunteer at Church Street United Methodist Church in their fellowship hall. And when you come in and volunteer, you'll receive a colored wristband for that particular day, and then be dispatched to an area that needs assistance based on your ability to serve.
Great. And if you are, an organization, faith-based or otherwise, that wants to bring a delivery of supplies that they've collected from their community to Selma, how would one go about doing that?
You can do this. You can actually reach out to the city of Selma. We do have where we are receiving supplies and goods that are being distributed to the citizens at the Evans Building. It's located at 2 Lawrence Street, and we are staffing that facility 7 days a week.
Great. Next question.
Absolutely. And just another reminder to get in line with your questions still by pressing 0. And also I want to give another reminder and encourage folks who haven't done so already to press 7 to provide an operator with your email address to receive those updates moving forward from the Congresswoman's office. So again, this is one of the best ways to stay current, and I can see your neighbors are already taking advantage of this option. So again, go ahead and press 7 right now if you haven't done so already to sign up for the Representative's e-newsletter. Now, let's go ahead and continue on. I see Val up next in Tuscaloosa asking, I do facilitating work in Greene County. Is Greene County included in the emergency declaration?
Do you want to take that, Jeff? I understand that Greene County and Sumter County are being added to the disaster declaration, and that's a new addition.
Yes, ma'am. That word came in, I think it was about 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon that Greene, Sumter, and Tallapoosa counties were designated under the major disaster declaration. So the full complement of resources that are available to the 2 original counties, Dallas and Autauga, are now available to Greene as well. And that's the individual assistance and the category A and B of public assistance.
Great. And I would assume, Kevin, that we can expect boots on the ground from FEMA in these newly added counties soon.
Yes, ma'am. We'll be reaching out to local leaders in Sumter and Greene counties tomorrow to coordinate to get our DSA, our Disaster Survivors Assistance teams, on the ground in the next coming days.
Great. And I just want to, again, remind my constituents of Greene and Sumter County who have newly been added that you can go online to register for FEMA if you've been impacted. And that number is www.disasterassistance.gov. There's also a 1-800 number that you can call to register. That's 1-800-621-3362 between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. And, of course, you can download the FEMA app as well. So we will be reiterating this throughout the call as we've done thus far because we want you to get registered. And when you're registered, we want you to get assistance. And so to the extent that you receive a rejection letter or there's any question about your paperwork and you're not sure about, please find one of the disaster recovery centers. We can connect you in our office to one, and you should definitely read the entire letter and find out why you were denied. Oftentimes it's because of lack of documentation. So let's get that documentation in and let's get that assistance. Next question.
Next question, we have Marilyn in Selma asking, I had shingles blow off the house. Is this something that can be fixed?
Well, Marilyn, I'm not sure if your property was damaged. If there was only shingles, I'm not really sure what we can do about that. But obviously, if it was caused by the storms, then then you should register with FEMA. But I don't know if Jason or Kevin can offer assistance on this question.
Ma'am, I'll take that one. So the first line, ma'am, is to check with your local insurance, check with your insurance company. The second thing is, if you register with FEMA, please let them know that you've had damage to your home, and then we will schedule a home inspection to come out and take a look at your damages to see whether or not you qualify for housing repair based on that. As of today, ma'am, we have conducted 825 home inspections. So please, if you have damage as a result of the storm, when you register, please let the applicant service tech know that. And then as you move through the system, we will schedule and reach out and give you a call and schedule a home inspection. Now, it is imperative that if you see a number that you do not recognize on your phone, it's probably and you've registered with FEMA and you say that you have home damage, it's probably the home inspector calling you to schedule that date. If they do not reach you, they will leave a voicemail on your phone. It's imperative that you call us back so we can schedule that date because we don't want to hold up your recovery. So again, if you get a number you don't recognize, it's probably us calling you. We leave a voicemail. Please call us back so we can get out there and inspect your home and see what you can qualify for as home repair.
That's a very good point, Kevin, I want to bring home, and that is if you do have home insurance or renter's insurance, please make sure that you've notified your own insurance and exhausted all of the benefits of your own insurance. Federal assistance will not allow for duplication of benefits. So if you can get help with rental assistance and others from your insurance, you should exhaust that first. FEMA's here not to necessarily make you whole, but to help fill the gaps. Am I missing something, Kevin?
No, ma'am, you are correct.
The other thing is if you submit in your registration a number where you can be contacted, as Kevin said, please make sure you're answering the phone that you've given as your contact information because that will be the number that FEMA will call to schedule your home inspection and also to give you additional information. So please make sure that you're giving a phone number that you are reachable at and that you will answer the phone. Next question.
Yes, our next question from Kennedy in Selma asking, I have a dump truck and I can help clean up Selma. How can I get work doing that?
This is a very similar question to the question regarding the gentleman from Montgomery who also wanted to provide help. I think, as Jason said, if you're asking for volunteer, then I think, as Jeff said, you should call 211 if you're offering to volunteer. And also, if you'd like to volunteer, individual services or organizations would like to volunteer. As the mayor said, there is a volunteer reception center at the United Methodist Church in Selma, and that's located at 214 Church Street in Selma, Alabama. If you're asking if you could become a vendor or a contractor with FEMA, there's a whole process regarding that, and I believe Jason gave that information, and we'll make sure that we put that on our website as well. Next question.
Great, thanks so much. Let's take this next one from Mildred in Selma, who's saying, my brother's rental home was completely destroyed. Is there a loan he can apply for to rebuild, or will FEMA help him rebuild his home?
So, Mildred, that's a very good question. I assume that your brother's rental home, if it was completely destroyed, I would assume he either has insurance, and then he should definitely call their insurance company and make sure he exhausts all benefits of that. If he doesn't have insurance, he should register for FEMA. In terms of a loan, we do know that the Small Business Administration is there to assist with loans. Can you talk a little bit about that, Kevin, about what SBA is offering?
Yes, ma'am. So first thing, ma'am, if he owns the rental home, then he needs, as you stated, he needs to contact his insurance company as the first step. If he's a renter living in a rental property, ma'am, then he can contact FEMA. We can register him for potential rental assistance. But for SBA, if he's the owner of the rental home, he can contact the Small Business Administration, and they provide low interest loans. I think right now, it's zero interest for the first year, and 3% interest for the current loan. They can reach out to SBA.gov, and they can provide them the information for those type of loans. In addition to that, ma'am, we also will have SBA in our DRCs. So as you go to register, if you have a question about the Small Business Administration, you can go to our DRC, and they will have a rep there to answer any questions and to help you apply for a loan through their agency.
Great. We also got a really great question regarding mental health services. We know that it is very stressful when you lose property and experience tornadoes like this. Are there mental health assistance is the question that several of the constituents have asked.
Hey, Congresswoman, so this is Jeff with Alabama EMA, and short answer, yes, ma'am, that's a service provided, and the entry point to that is 211. I have Lisa Castaldo in here that can go in a little more detail on the programs that are available so that the group can have a better understanding of it. Lisa?
Yes, good evening, everyone. So Director Smitherman's correct. We've encouraged folks at this time to call 211 if they have any needs. I know also the Red Cross was providing assistance in the shelter when it was established, and also out in the community as they went out and provided their disaster emergency assistance over the past 2 weeks. But if folks still have needs and need to talk to someone, please encourage them to call 211, and they can connect them to the appropriate mental health care in their area.
Great, that's great. The other question that has been asked a lot is regarding the ability to get to be made whole. If you've been given rental assistance and you don't think it's enough, is there an appeal process? Was the question that was asked by one of the callers. Is there an appeal process with respect to the amount of assistance that's given through FEMA? Kevin, do you know that, or
yes,
Jason?
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am. There is an appeal process. Again, they can go back to call the 800 number that we listed earlier, or they can go to the DRC and appeal that decision if they feel that they did not receive enough rental assistance. But on that part, ma'am, they have to show, because the rental assistance is based upon information that's given at the time of registration. So they will have to show what has changed in that number. So if they have questions, they can call the 800 number again, 800-621-3362, to address any concerns or appeals that they might have about their assistance they received.
Thank you. Next question.
And one last thing, ma'am, before I go on that. Applicants have 60 days to send FEMA their appeal letter. So if they're going to do it by letter, they have 60 days to appeal that decision that FEMA has rendered.
Isn't it true that for individual assistance, you have 60 days from the date of the incident, January 12th, in order to apply or register? Is that right?
That is correct, ma'am. 60 days, and that date is March 16th, 2023, ma'am.
So let's make sure all of our neighbors who have been impacted by the storm get registered and make sure that they do so before March 16th, 2023. I do know that Kevin and the FEMA folks that are on the ground are doing everything, even going door to door to register people, but we have to help ourselves as well. We need to make sure that we are not duplicating any benefits, because if you do have another source that could provide those benefits and you did not exhaust it, if FEMA gave you the money, then they will seek reimbursement back from you of any monies given. And so we don't want that to happen. We want to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to get the right information to FEMA, and also that we're exhausting all of our insurance benefits that we have. Next question.
Next question is from Blake in Selma, asking, does FEMA request that documents be uploaded with an insurance estimate, and what is the appeal process?
We talked about the appeal process, but Kevin, can you talk about how documentation is given to FEMA?
Ma'am, I have my individual assistance branch director here, and he will answer that question.
Anytime the registrant is disagreeing with FEMA decision or type or dollar amount of assistance they received, anyone can appeal within 60 days from the date of the notification. If time extension is required, we can always contact FEMA helpline and we can walk it through. But overall, appeal has to be signed and in writing, clearly outlining what has been disagreed or appealing. Overall, anytime that we send out eligibility determination for financial assistance, it outlines what are the type of documents that's supposed to submit. Normally, it'll be long list. Not everything will be applied. So anytime if I'm receiving eligibility determination letter, it will outline how to appeal, when to appeal, what are the type and form of document it will need. Just to add on, as of last Friday, our representatives, not just that people are reaching out to us, our FEMA representatives are contacting some of those cases to walk through. They will notify who we are. If they don't feel comfortable talking to any one of us because it may be fraud or any type, they will leave the names. And also going to go into registering case file and leaving our joint field office representative has contacted registrant before they're reaching out to us. What has been addressed? What are the form, type, and shape of document or documentation we may be looking for? So rather than registrant coming to calling us, we will be also reaching out to anyone that we deem eligible, whether we can bring in $10 or even $1 additional from financial assistance has been approved. That will go on for the next 90 days or even longer as needed. Subject to your question, back to you.
Thank you. I believe, Taylor, we have one last question from Erica.
Yes, Erica in Selma is asking, being that the deadline is March 16th to register for FEMA, is that the deadline for other counties such as Hale, Greene, and Sumter counties?
Great question. Those counties were recently added. Kevin, do you want to take that?
Yes, ma'am. The deadline for all counties, ma'am, is March 16th, 2023. That is the date of the initial declaration. So 60 days from the date of the initial declaration is the registration window. Now, as I was stated earlier, ma'am, if there is a need and the numbers back the need, then the state can request an extension to that deadline to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to register.
Well, thank you. I know that there are a lot of other questions that are in the queue. Please know that our time is coming to a close, but we will continue to be the conduit for federal assistance. And so to the extent that you had a question that was not answered, I hope that you will sign up for my newsletter, where we will provide a lot of information on a continuous basis about disaster assistance, and, of course, our website, sewell.house.gov. I know the mayor would want me to say that the city's website also has great information, as well as the county's website. And I wanted to throw it to you, Taylor, to talk about how one can register for our newsletter.
Yeah, absolutely. And as the Congresswoman just mentioned, we did answer as many of your questions as we had time for. However, if your question was not answered, we do encourage you to stay on the line until the very end of this call. You can leave us a voicemail message. Now, when leaving those voicemails, we do ask that you just please leave us your name and best contact information so that we have a fighting chance of reaching back out to you. And remember, if you need additional assistance, you can call our Birmingham office, and that phone number again is 205-254-1960. Or you can also call our Selma office as well, which that phone number again is 334-877-4414. And again, feel free to also visit the rep's website at sewell.house.gov for more information. And if you didn't get the chance to sign up for that e-newsletter, you can also do that there as well. Now, we do appreciate your time. So with that, I can toss it back over to you, Congresswoman, to introduce the mayor once again.
Yes, in closing, I just want to say that over 3,000 members of Alabama's 7th Congressional District stayed on the call the whole time to listen to disaster assistance. I want to thank our speakers for participating and sharing their expertise as we work through this very difficult time. I want you to know that as this process continues, as was said, this is definitely not a sprint, it's a marathon. And all of us are committed and dedicated to making sure that the constituents of Alabama's 7th Congressional District, as well as all of those impacted in Alabama, get the assistance that they need. I also want to thank you, my constituents, who've joined us. Lots of calls went out, and the fact that 3,000 people stayed on the line the whole hour, I guess, goes to the need that we need to continuously inform each other of provide updates and provide information as we get it. I know that many of us need assistance, and as we work to reimagine our communities, I know that we will need a long-term recovery plan, and I look forward to working with every aspect of our community, getting the buy-in and the your concerns and issues about how it is we should go about doing our long-term recovery. I know the mayor and as well as Judge Jimmy Nunn also would want to make sure that we're doing that. The outpouring of support for our communities has been truly heartening, and I speak on behalf of the entire 7th Congressional District when I say thank you to everyone who has offered their support now and into the future. This will indeed be a marathon, but rest assured that together we will come back stronger and better than before. We are indeed Selma strong, Dallas County determined, and Alabama able, and we will get through this. I want to bring back the mayor, Mayor Perkins, for our closing prayer.
Thank you. There are several of those questions that were asked. There are some answers, but I know that we are under time constraint. But I would like to mention the issue of mental health because that's so critical. If you have trouble navigating 211, just check in at Rural Health. They have tremendous resources there to help. Father, we acknowledge that this is your knowledge. This is your wisdom that has been shared. We thank you for those individuals who have allowed themselves to be instruments to carry the power of knowledge to your people. We ask for now your help to strengthen our compassion, to strengthen our courage, and to strengthen our commitment, and to improve our communication. We know that you have done well by us, but we ask for a little bit more. Thank you. This is my prayer. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your night.
Thank you, Congresswoman.